Welcome to part 3 of the 3D sketch. Here we're going to learn how to manipulate the interface to help us control these tools. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple of tricks for working with 3D sketches, because you notice I'm using the spacebar to move this around a lot as I work. Sometimes that's ideal and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's easier to just have multiple views of your part all at once. So you can go to Window, Viewport, for View. Now this is a great way to work. You're looking at it from the top, you're looking at it from the front, you're looking at it from the right, and you have an isometric. In the isometric view, you can still rotate this with your spacebar. If you wanted to draw a line that went across and you want to make sure that it's in a certain plane, I can draw a line here from the middle of that to the middle of this, and I can look down and make sure that that line is on the top where I want it. I can see that everywhere. So that's a great way to work right there. This line can then be turned into a construction line. What we really want to have is we want to have our planes lined up in the middle of this thing. When we first started sketching, we took this point and made it coincident to the origin. So I'm going to delete that relationship. Okay, now you're totally unhinged. This thing is not connected anywhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another line, and I'm going to go to the midpoint of this line, and I can just click there, hit tab, and make this line go straight down. I'm using another view here. Okay? And you can see what's happening in the isometric view. Press escape to get out of this, turn this into a construction line, move this line onto the origin by making a coincident relationship. Now everything is good except this isn't set up according to height. So what I'll do is I'll take my top plane and control select one of the bottoms and make that on plane relationship. Okay, now we're back to a fully defined sketch. And notice that all my views here are linked. That's one of the great reasons for using the window viewport for view. Let me show you another way to do that, though. And to get rid of this, I can just get that north, south, east, west and double click. 2 viewports. Then you can go down here to the end of your slider, and then I can pull that out, and it splits the screen into 2. You can also grab this bar on the other slider and pull that up. Okay, so now you've got 4 independent views, and that's not as nice as what we had before. You can go in here and link the views. I like to do it the other way, and I can double click on each one of these splitters to get back my single view and window viewport for view. They're instantly all 3 linked and set up very nicely. So this is the way I actually recommend working with 3D sketches. It just makes everything a lot clearer. You can select whatever you want in whichever view, and it just works out great. Let's say that you've got to run a hose or a wire from here to here, or better yet, to here. Let's do it with a spline. I'm going to click here and then click. This point went way out of whack. So sometimes you just come back to your other view and you try to get that point back in line. I have to select this. Okay. And part of what I want here, I can get, if I go up here, notice this is just coming out at a weird angle where it shouldn't come out that way. So I'm going to click on this line, control click on the spline, and give it a tangent relationship. Okay, this makes it much easier to deal with. Now you can pull this point over and pull it up. Over here, give another relationship of tangent. Pull this point in. Okay, so now you have a hose that goes over from one corner to the other. You can straighten that up a little more. When you're working with splines in 3D, it can get a little frustrating. It takes a lot of patience, and it takes a little bit of practice. And really, you've got to set up and use your multiple viewports. Now we want to put a circle down, and everybody knows that a circle has to lie on a plane. You don't have any real way of making a circle in a 3D sketch. So there are some things that are in 3D sketches that I don't necessarily recommend all the time, but they do help you out from time to time. And one of these is the plane that goes into a 3D sketch. This is different from the plane that's in a 2D sketch, and it works much differently. So we can click on the plane. I want to put it on the top surface, so we'll just click 3 points here. 3 points make a plane, and right click to accept that. Now the plane is shaded and it's showing a grid. Don't freak out, okay? Nobody's going to tell your mother that you're drawing with a grid. From here, I can use a circle and put it on this plane. All right, I can put a dimension on the circle, and the circle becomes fully defined. That's great. Now if I double click off the plane, get rid of the dimension tool and double click, now I'm out of the circle. I can still change its dimension here, but if I want to move it around, I can just double click on the circle again and the plane comes back. So I don't really recommend using planes in 3D sketches, except when you need to draw a circle. I usually get into a 3D sketch to avoid drawing planes, in fact. And the one final sketch entity that I want to show you is the point. Okay, a point in 3D space can really be useful sometimes. The way I define the position of this point is by using dimensions. You can use a line from the origin to that point. Switch that over to a construction geometry. I'm just going to speed up the animation on this section just because it's tedious to go through and watch me add dimensions. When you dimension to a 3D point from a plane, you have to make sure that that point is not on the plane. 3D sketches are great for creating layouts. Even if you don't use them parametrically, they're fantastic tools. You can make simple or complex geometry with them, and you can use them to sketch directly onto complex surfaces. Good luck with 3D sketches, and let me know in the comments how you do. Thanks for watching.